in Cannes, which has always been a bête noire of mine, and I saw Last Days at Cannes, which I thought was the worst film of the year, and I think on the same day I saw A History of Violence, which for my money should have won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, so obviously won nothing, and is currently a contender for Best Movie of the Year. New movie by David Cronenberg, who is known best, I suppose, to mainstream audiences for The Fly, Dead Ringers, Scanners, which is an old sort of science fiction horror inflected movie, and of course Crash, which was a famous cause célèbre, was banned in Westminster for allegedly being about to bring about the end of society. I think that ban has never been repealed. I think it is still illegal to show Crash in Westminster. Hey,
that's reassuring, I think.
It is. This is an adaptation of a graphic novel which I haven't read. The story stars Viggo Mortensen as a small-town retiring coffee shop owner called Tom.
When he says retiring, is he about to give it up, or is he just
retiring
quiet?
As in shy and retiring.
Just checking.
Yeah, I'm just, but that is the correct usage of the word retiring, I think. It's going to be fractious, isn't it, from now on in?
Feel free to continue.
Okay. He is a retiring coffee shop owner. Into his coffee shop come two absolutely hideous villains. And we expect there to be appallingness ensuing. However, Tom surprisingly stands up to them, with the result that he becomes a local hero. The next thing that we know, Ed Harris comes into Tom's coffee shop dressed in that sort of standard issue gangster stroke FBI stroke threatening guy, black suit, black sunglasses, and starts demanding that Tom respond to the name of Joey, because having read about his heroics in the paper, he's figured out that Tom isn't who he says he is. But Tom has no idea who Ed Harris is.
You're the hero.
I don't know, sir.
You're the big hero. Sure took care of those two bad men.
Really don't like talking about it, sir. We're trying to get back to normal here. So can I offer you gentlemen some coffee?
Sure. Give me some coffee. Make it black.
Yes, sir.
Joey.
And your friends?
They don't drink coffee. He doesn't agree with them. Joey.
It's Joey.
You are.
My name's Tom, sir.
Of course it is. It's good coffee.
Thank you, sir.
Hard to find coffee that's good in Philadelphia. But you know that, don't you, Tom?
The rest of the movie then pivots around the conflict between the two characters, which is this guy who's absolutely convinced that Viggo Mortensen is in fact Joey, and Viggo Mortensen, who is clearly not Joey, who is clearly Tom, and yet has done something which is out of character. And then all the boundaries start to be blurred. Now, when the film previewed in Cannes, there was an assumption, I think, from some people that it was going to be a mainstream sort of Cronenberg light, Cronenberg for hire thing. In fact, it's completely the opposite. It is a quintessential Cronenberg movie which deals with all those issues of identity that all his best films have dealt with. There's a marvellous line in The Fly, his remake of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, which is fantastic, in which Jeff Goldblum is talking to the Gina Davis character, and he says, "I'm a fly who dreamt he was a man and loved it, but now the dream is over and the insect is awake." And it's this beautiful kind of quintessential Cronenberg moment about the fluidity of identity. That is what is going on in History of Violence. And the reason it works is manifold. Firstly, a fantastic performance by Viggo Mortensen, who I think most people know, probably most popularly from Lord of the Rings, but you had him on the show when he was playing Hidalgo.
That was for Hidalgo,
yeah. He is absolutely, a brilliant actor. He is the Robert De Niro of his generation, the Marlon Brando of his... I mean, the man is a genius. He and Maria Bello do the most convincing impression of a married couple that I have seen on screen in quite some time. There are two sex scenes, love scenes between these two characters, which are absolutely staggering in the way in which they depict the intimacy of two people who know or think they know each other, who have history or think they have history. Cronenberg has obviously learned from the work that he did in films like Crash, and to some extent, I suppose, with M. Butterfly. And I think those two scenes are absolutely majestically done. The other thing that's important is that what Cronenberg manages to do is to shift the tone of the piece beautifully. He changes gear like watching a car changing gear without any kind of double declutching or any sort of, break in the narrative. So the movie moves from being, on the one hand, light, intimate, sensitive, shockingly violent, then suddenly comic book inflected, then dreamlike, then down to earth and realistic. And he does all this with like, it's like watching Orson Welles. I mean, it is really, it's the confidence of a master filmmaker who has come through horror, who has come through, psychological thrillers, who has come through works like Crash. He has done everything, and he is now able to do absolutely everything. I mean, it is absolutely extraordinary the way in which he manages those changes without ever losing the audience. Now, an interesting thing was, again, when it showed in Cannes, there is one section of the movie which is particularly comic book-like, and it is, in fact, rather comic. And it produced some laughter. And somebody shouted from downstairs at the screening, shut up, you cynical critics, take it seriously. Well, the interesting thing about it was, it's a film that understands comedy and understands drama and understands tragedy all at the same time. I mean, I'm not being funny about this. It's staggeringly good. It is really, really something. And I saw it, second time I saw it, I was just every bit as happy with it as I was the first time round. It's outrageous that it didn't win the Palme d'Or, but of course the thing that should win the Palme d'Or never does. And it is, for me, an absolute affirmation that Cronenberg is at the very top of his game. And believe me, if you're a Cronenberg fan, you'll love it. And if you're not a Cronenberg fan, it's a really good way to start, because it's a very, very accessible movie.
You're going to find yourself on the poster if you're not careful.
Well, I don't need to, because frankly, there's already enough people on that poster saying so. But it's just terrific.
What's a double declutch, by the way?
You know what you used to have to do with cars, which used to have to double declutch. If you're going from first gear to second gear or something, you'd have to declutch, put it into neutral, and then declutch again to put it into gear. The idea of just going straight from first gear to second gear is a relatively modern phenomenon, Simon, but obviously you're younger than I am.
Thanks, Dad.